So the letter reaches Muawiyah radiallahu anhu in Sham, and he reads the letter and the blood begins to boil. And he hangs up this blood-stained garment of Uthman radiallahu anhu up on the minbar. And every day 70,000 warriors gather awaiting the command so they can avenge the blood of Uthman. So meanwhile now back in Medina, the people of Fitna, they started to try to find the Khalifa after Uthman to pledge to. But they couldn't agree on who the Khalifa should be. The people of Egypt wanted Ali radiallahu anhu to be the next Khalifa. The people of Al-Kufa wanted the Zubair ibn Awam. The people of Basra wanted Talib ibn Ubaidullah. So all of them had agreed to kill Uthman, but they had not agreed on who they're going to put as a successor. So each group tries to push their person to become the Khalifa. And all refuse. This is 5 days. There's no Khalifa and they're trying to find the Khalifa. And the armies have arrived. Armies who came to support the Medinians and to support Uthman radiallahu anhu. They arrived, but they stopped outside of Medina. Now they stopped and they're sending letters to their umara, the emirs who sent them. Because they don't know to enter upon what state, attack whom, to kill whom, who's in charge, so they sent letters back now waiting for orders. So the people of Fitna now, to understand their situation, they're afraid. They're afraid the army will enter and they'll get killed. So now they're in a hurry to choose another Khalifa. Because the armies, the wisdom behind it is that the armies won't invade to fight the Khalifa. There's a Khalifa in Medina. Armies are not going to invade Medina to fight the Khalifa in there. So by mixing up affairs like this, they can all escape safely. But they couldn't find anyone who was going to accept the bay'ah, the pledge. So after Ali and Zubair and Talha, who else is left from the 6 people of Shura? There is, of course, the 6 people of Shura are Ali and Uthman and Zubair and Talha and Abdurrahman ibn Auf and Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas and Abdullah ibn Umar. And Ali and Zubair and Talha refused. And Ibn Auf had died, radiallahu anhu. And Uthman radiallahu anhu was murdered. And there was Sa'd and Ibn Umar. So they went to Sa'd radiallahu anhu. They were the only ones left, Sa'd and Ibn Umar now. So they went to Sa'd radiallahu anhu and he totally refused to become the Khalifa. So they went to Abdullah ibn Umar. And he refused even more than Sa'd did. So now the people of Fitna lost hope. No one wants to become the Khalifa. And this is something that's agreed upon by all classical books, all classical works agree on this. That Ali and Zubair and Talha and Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas and Abdullah ibn Umar, all of them totally refused the Khilafah. So none of them would have supported the people of Fitna because they want to be the Khalifa instead of Uthman. So now they lost hope, the people of Fitna. This is 5 days after the death of Uthman. And they gathered and said that if the people of Medina don't agree upon someone, we fear that Muawiyah will become the new Khalifa. And he's from Bani Umayyah, and wallahi, if he wins it, he will not leave any of you alive. If Muawiyah becomes a Khalifa, he's not going to leave any of you. So the heads of the people of Fitna gathered, and they gathered the people of Medina, and they said, we give you 2 days. Now the people of Fitna, they're threatening the people of Medina. We give you 2 days. Wallahi, if you don't pledge to someone in 2 days, we will kill Ali and Talha and Zubair and many others. So they threatened them that they're going to massacre the Sahaba. And the people of Medina knew that they're not bluffing. Why? Because the army is right outside. So some Sahaba then went to Ali and asked him to become the Khalifa. And he refused. He said, we're heading into very difficult times. They told him, we ask you by Allah, don't you see what we see? Fear Allah, they're going to kill us and they're going to kill you. And Ali radiallahu anhu tells them, only because of this situation do I agree. And he stipulated to them that they obey him and they do as he says. And he tells them, if you're not going to obey me, then leave me be. If you're not going to obey me, you might as well not have me get into this. And if you leave me be, then I am but one of you, except that I am the most attentive and most obedient to the next Khalifa. So saying, if I become one of you, and you don't choose me as the Khalifa, I will become the most obedient to the next Khalifa. It shows you how the dunya wasn't in the hearts of the Sahaba. So they agreed. And agreed to meet the next day in the masjid. So then they gathered the people of Medina and the Sahaba gathered, and the people of Fitna liked this idea. But they knew that if Talha and Zubair don't pledge to Ali, then this is not going to work. Because for the people of Medina, if Talha and Zubair pledge, that means this is genuine, this is legitimate. But if they don't, no one's going to really consider this as Ali as the Khalifa. So when Talha and Zubair heard the news, they said, no, we will pledge to him only if he begins with killing the murderers of Uthman. We won't accept delaying this issue, and will not accept anything else but the killing of the murderers of Uthman. This was their stipulation of Talha and Zubair. So now the news reaches the people of Fitna, and they said, Wallahi, if Talha and Zubair don't pledge, then it won't work. It's not going to be a legitimate Khilafah. And if they want our death, what do we do? At the same time, they want you dead. This is their stipulation. So they decided the only way was to force them to pledge. So the next day, Ali radiallahu anhu comes and he ascends the pulpit and he says, O people, this affair, meaning the Khilafah, is your affair and no one has a right upon it except the one you put in charge. And we have parted last night, meaning me and the Sahaba, consultation that they had, upon a decision. So if you like, I will accept. Otherwise, I have nothing against anyone. He was telling them with the Sahaba last night, we sat and we talked, and we parted upon a decision that I'm the Khalifa. If you people accept, it's fine. And if you don't, I have nothing against anybody. Some of the Sahaba got up and they said, we are still upon what we parted with you yesterday. We're upon the same agreement. And this was witnessed by Talha and Zubair, this khutbah. So Zubair was brought over by a group of the people of Fitna. They went and brought him to the masjid. And this group was under the leadership of Hussain ibn Jabala, the thief, as we said. And he was the leader of the rebels, and he brought him with the sword. They forced him to come. And Talha was brought by Malik ibn al-Harith. He's known as Al-Ashtar al-Nukh'i. He was a warrior, a champion warrior. They forced him at the point of the sword. So Zubair and Talha were forced to come. And when Ali spoke and the Sahaba accepted, Hussain put the sword at the neck of Zubair. And Al-Ashtar put the sword at the neck of Talha and told him, get up and pledge. So then Talha comes, the first man to pledge. He comes, of course he's coerced, he's forced to pledge. And his right hand, as you all know, had been paralyzed in the battle of Uhud from defending the Prophet ﷺ on the day of Uhud. He defended the Prophet ﷺ so much with his right hand, stopping with it arrows and defending the face of the Prophet ﷺ with it, that it became paralyzed. He could never use it for the rest of his life. Some narrations will tell you even some of his fingers were cut off. And for that reason, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, whenever Uhud was mentioned in front of him, he would say that was the day of Talha. Because no one had done as he had done. So he lifts his paralyzed right hand with his left hand, and he puts it in the hand of Ali. And a witness who saw this, he said, the first hand to pledge is a paralyzed hand. This is an affair that will not succeed. And this man, he sees a sign in this. The first hand to pledge is a paralyzed hand. He sees this as a sign that this is not going to work. And then Zubair radiallahu anhu pledges, and there was sword at his neck as well. And then the other Sahaba start to pledge, and then the other people pledge. This takes place in the 25th of the Hijjah, 7 days after the death of Uthman radiallahu anhu. So now, the new Khalifa of the Muslims is Ali radiallahu anhu. So let us pause briefly just to talk about him for a minute. His name is Ali ibn Abi Talib, and the name of Abu Talib is Abdul Manaf ibn Abdul Muttalib, and the name of Abdul Muttalib is Shayba ibn Hashim, whose name is Amr ibn Abdul Manaf. And his kunya, his patronymic, is Abu Hassan, and he was also referred to as Abu Turab, as he was called by the Prophet ﷺ. His mother was Fatima bint Asad ibn Hashim, and the virtues of Ali radiallahu anhu is that he was of the 10 who were given glad tidings of paradise, and the son-in-law of the Prophet ﷺ, because he married Fatima, the daughter of Muhammad ﷺ. And he was of the earliest of Muslims, the second person ever to become a Muslim, Ali radiallahu anhu. And he was of the scholars of the Muslimin, and of the heroes, and the most courageous, and known for his piety, and for being ascetic, an orator, good speaker at the same time, and a warrior like none other. And he had never worshipped idols. And that's why we say Ali karramallahu wajhu, which means Allah honored his face, because his face never prostrated to idols. And he was of those who had witnessed the battle of Badr and Uhud and all the major battles with the Prophet ﷺ except for Tabuk. And in Tabuk, the Prophet ﷺ put him in charge of Medina and told him, "Are you not pleased to be to me as Harun was to Musa, except that there is no prophet after me?" So this was the place of Ali radiallahu anhu. And many times during battles, the Prophet ﷺ would give him the standard. And his description was that he was a short and muscular man. They described him saying that between his shoulders were the muscles like that of a lion. And when he became old, he was heavy. And he was bald and he had much hair. So how are you bald and you have much hair? He was bald in his head, but he had much hair like in his arms and his legs. And he had a huge white beard, describing it. They said it was filling that which was between his shoulders and his chest. And they described that he had a large stomach. So Ali radiallahu anhu becomes the Khalifa. And he gives his first khutbah. And in it he says, "Verily Allah has revealed a book of guidance, and revealed in it that which is good and that which is evil. So take the good and leave the evil." He says, "Perform the fara'id, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take you to paradise. Verily Allah has sanctified certain things, made them holy, that are well known to us, and made violating them haram." As if you can see hints here to the people of Fitna. "And made the sanctity of the Muslim greater than all other sanctities." Then he starts to mention ikhlas, and he mentions tawheed, and then he mentions the hadith that the Muslim is the one whom the Muslims are safe from his tongue and his hand except with its right. So he's mentioning all these hadith, and they're like a message to the people of Fitna. And then he tells it is not permissible to harm a Muslim except with due cause.